Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. People in the room, not many of you, as usual, because the market is down. People online, on Zoom, thank you for your presence. People on YouTube, enjoy your coffee. I'm surreal, and like surreal, marked by the intense reality of a dream feeling. This is my fourth talk here, and I realized that they start to align together. Oh, can I have the thingy behind? I initially talked about the Industrial Revolution and how we would end up owning nothing and be happy about it. So if you haven't attended those two talks, I suggest that you take a moment to go watch them, or at least to get some sense of them here and here, for those on YouTube, I guess. And basically, it's about trying to look at the future that's coming in front of us. It is related to blockchain, and today I'm going to talk about education. Or I'm going to share perspective on what education might become in that brave new world. So if you expect me to tell you what blockchain is going to do in terms of functionality for education, that's not my job. Okay. One, I'm not a tech guy. Two, there's plenty of machines who are going to do that pretty well for us by the time we need it. However, I had a talk 2 weeks ago with a friend of mine, and it triggered a thought which is leading to that talk. Basically, I tried to approach education as I lived it, and I know it's slightly different today than it was 30 years ago for me, but I tried to approach education from a perspective of what are the values and the characteristic of blockchain, and what if we try to embed those values into education, assuming or taking as an hypothesis that the world indeed is going to change and that the notion of job is going to completely be changed fundamentally. In fact, I sincerely believe that job, as we understand them today, are meant to disappear within 10 to 20 years, maybe 30. So the underlying train of thoughts today is how we can use the characteristic and the values of blockchain to build a framework that could be applied on education in general. So what does blockchain do? It makes value going faster. It removes friction. In the same way that internet 20 years ago helped information moving faster and with less friction and at a fraction of the cost. Back in the 90s, we would send mail. I would take my letter, I would put it in an envelope, I would put a stamp, I would drop it at the post office, and then it would take, I don't know, maybe 2 to 5 days, depending on where I send it, to reach destination. And this is definitively an old world perspective. Now, we are just sending emails. 30 seconds later, they are in the mailbox. 1 minute later, maybe they are already read at a fraction of the cost. It goes faster, it is cheaper. It basically, internet removed friction when it comes to having information going around, how we access it, how we share it. Sure, there was the Web 1.0 and the Web 2.0, which were different evolution. But Web 3.0 is coming with blockchain. And blockchain basically comes with the same impact that internet had on information, but this time it is applied on value. It is about how you can move money, for instance, value in general, your work, but also everything that is related to trust. Okay, moving value through a blockchain-based system has much less friction. It goes faster. It costs a fraction of a cost. So how can we think about that and apply it to education? Can I have the next slide? So a little bit of background about the first two talks that I made here. It was about the revolutions. The digital revolution, that in fact is already done, and what we call the industrial revolution. Now, Jack Ma, nice guy, you know, he failed every exam he tried to pass. He was not a good student, but he created Alibaba and he made one of the biggest companies in the world. And that guy, who at some point in time was a teacher, believed that we fundamentally need to change the nature of what we feed to our children. And in fact, not just to our children, but to absolutely everybody at all time. And he's right, there is no expert of the future. There are only experts of the past. And when I'm trying to share that perspective, that doesn't make me any expert at all. Like really, not at all. Next one. So, we keep on talking about digital revolution, okay? But that one is done. You know, the digital revolution, the revolution itself is done. We are using email, we are using automated services, AI, internet. We don't even realize it anymore, all the time around us. And the thing is, what is developing now is the aftermath of that revolution. We should keep in mind that a revolution is something that happened in a short period of time. And then there's a lot of changes that are coming after that revolution. And this is what we've been going through for the next 10, 15 years already, maybe 20. So the digital revolution led to a fundamental change on the economy. We are slowly moving towards a creative economy. I'm going to go back to that multiple times, but basically, we need less and less people to produce, to mass produce, you know, object or to build houses or roads. What we need is brain who can create something. And in fact, I think that, well, I don't think it's obvious that the recent pandemic was some sort of catalyst into that. Okay, we were in that old system where we were moving, going to the office and all that, and suddenly the world stopped and we had to find new solution. In fact, you know, Zoom is a very good example. But how did schools and universities coped with that? You know, if let's say 10 years ago, anyone, like the smartest brain in the world, goes to a university and say, hey, you need to change your system, maybe do more things online, on demand, everybody would have laughed at them. Within a few weeks, the systemic change was forced, was induced by the pandemic, and to some extent, it generated a fast-forward movement into the digital economy. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but we're living in a shitty world, aren't we? I mean, to put it mildly, we are on the verge of extinction. Okay? We played, we grew, we need to consume, we extract a lot of things from the earth. And as I was saying in my first talk, if we look at humanity as a meta-being and as Earth as the cradle for that meta-being, we can fairly look at it as a baby. You know, humanity is just in its very infant stage of development. In fact, the brain just got interconnected recently. You know, you're watching through internet. So that mode of connection is just the meta-brain of that meta-being starting to interconnect. Now, if we use that analogy, what do you expect a baby to do in its cradle? To shit itself, mostly. And that's why I am not that pessimist when it comes to looking at the impact that we have on the environment, on the system, because I sincerely believe that we are going to grow fast and learn even faster. And the ecological considerations or thoughts, they emerged really like 50 years ago, and which is a very short period of time for us to be where we are today in terms of how we are looking at our interaction with the system. So there's plenty of crises around us. Yes, we are on the verge of extinction, but I am kind of optimistic. Some very good decision if we want to not fall into the pit. Global warming all around us, exhaustion of natural resources, war, unemployment, recession recently. I mean, that's a grim present. But in my second talk, I was talking about the Industrial Revolution. Good morning. So what is an industrial revolution? It's a convergence of three different things that happen kind of at the same time, and together they change the world. Those three things are a shift in a new medium of communication, a new medium of transportation, and a new way of producing energy. So if you look in the 19th century in the UK, we have the telegraph, which was a fantastic new way of moving information one way from A to B instantly. That was a pure revolution in terms of communication. At the same time, we invented the steam engine, and we started to dig coal, a new way of producing electricity, coal. We put that engine on rail, so now we have a train network, a new way of communicating, and those three things together created what we call an industrial revolution, and suddenly started from the UK and then spreading all over Europe and then the world. The efficiency at which we were producing and communicating increased by a lot. I'm not very much into numbers, so usually it's a lot, a fucking lot, or not that much. Those are my three ways of approaching numbers. In the 20th century, in the US, we have, at the beginning, again, at the same time, roughly, the telephone and the TV and the radio, but mostly the telephone. At the same time, we have the combustion engine, and we start to extract oil from the ground. We have cars, trucks, buses, and then plane. A new energy, a new way of transportation, a new way of communicating. And again, the aggregated efficiency of everything we were doing as a species increased by a fucking lot. But that thing plateaued around, I don't know, the 80s, 90s, so 30, 40 years ago. The efficiency of everything we were doing started to stop growing, plateauing, or even starting to reduce. And now we are entering the third revolution because we have a new way of communicating, internet. I mean, that digital revolution is just one part of the Industrial Revolution. We can see a new way of transportation emerging. Self-driving fleet, or like a fleet of self-driving autonomous electrical vehicle. Okay? I don't think we should call them automobile anymore, more like autos. They are things that are moving from A to B by themselves. I mean, if anyone here believe that, or do not believe that we will have self-driving vehicle all around the place, including here in Bali, but all around the world, let me know, because to me it is just plain obvious. It's just a question of time for the regulator to make it happen. And in the last talk, which I did, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we addressed the question of energy and how energy and blockchain, like how energy needs to move into, again, the values and the characteristic of blockchain being applied and move from a system of top-down delivery with, you know, big power plant and then power lines, distribution, it gets into your home, you pay for every kilowatt hour. And I sincerely believe that not only we are going to transition, but we need to transition into that new mode of producing and distributing energy if we want to be able to achieve that third industrial revolution, which is going to lead us to, okay, those were past talk. Can I have the next one? Okay, so in the very first talk about how we will own nothing and be happy, I briefly brushed the fact that in that new world, all those things that today we consider to be luxury, okay, if you have all that at your disposal at all time in quantity and quality, you know, you're rich. Now, I believe that if we operate, or when we will operate the third industrial revolution, all those things are going to become marginally free. Okay? I mean, entertainment is kind of already done. Okay? You pay $10 per month for Spotify, same thing for Netflix. You get YouTube. I mean, you get plenty of platform. And in fact, you don't own it anymore. Last week, we talked about energy. Now, this time, we're going to talk about education. In fact, I am now considering to maybe do more talks about each of those things. So for those of you who are in contact with us, you know, part of Teams group and, you know, who are following our activity, you know, feel free to get back to me if there is something in here in that list where you're like, oh yeah, I'd like you to think about that. Again, I am no expert at all. I am no expert in energy, even though I talked about it for 2 hours, and I'm no expert in education. But I like connecting dots. So, you know, feel free to give me feedback and tell me which one you would like me to address next. So, one observation that we can make is that the world has changed, that's for sure, and the need for normalized, standardized people and system is now completely obsolete. During the first and the second revolution, it made complete sense to make sure that kids would go through the same kind of education, because at the end of that pipeline, we want to make sure that we can replace that cog by a similar younger cog, but with the same set of skills, with the same capacities. But those jobs don't exist anymore. Or if they are still existing today, within 10 to 20 years, they won't. So we have that heritage in terms of education that comes from, I would say, some sort of military or ecclesiastic background, where it was very important to make sure that everybody knows the same thing, that everybody has the same background, that everybody act and operate and think in the same way, know the same language. That worked, and it worked perfectly. I am certainly not saying that this, what I'm going to call as of now the old educational system, is a bad one. It worked very well. It just doesn't apply anymore. So I'm thinking about the students today, and oh my God, it is so unfair to them, in my opinion. Like, imagine if knowledge is the best all-you-can-eat buffet of the world, okay? You have like all the craziest, most delicious food on a buffet. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be like, oh, I want to try that. I don't know if I like it, but I want to try it. And if I like it, I want more of it. And I'm going to try that, okay? And now we're living in a system where somebody said, eat this. Okay. I don't like it. Finish it. Can I have this? No. Finish this. Why? Because. So, when I was a kid and going to school, say, what do you call that, high school? My high school time was late 80s, early 90s. My math teacher, he was a rock star to me, okay? He was exciting, he was giving me crazy knowledge, he was available, at least to some extent, 4 hours per week. I loved him. He was bringing stuff into my mind, you know? But he had no competition. Today, math teacher in school, they are competing on YouTube with Nobel Prizes who are delivering the same content in plenty of different ways, probably better, probably faster. In fact, sometimes maybe in contradiction with what is being said in the classroom. How do you expect kids who have this, okay, who can go on YouTube and be like, oh, okay, what about? They instantly access information in their own time, delivered to them through the medium of their choosing, and most likely it's going to be a better content. Sorry, but my fantastic math teacher is not a rock star anymore. Now, another thing that happened at my time, and I believe that this is still how, system is going on, my math class was Monday morning from 9 to 11 in room 404. That's it. The only thing I had to do was to go through the system, wake up Monday morning, half sleeping, going to room 404, sit at the back of the room, keep my ears half open, try to pick up a little bit of information, and if I am smart enough, I will probably, go through the exam. What does that system say? Do this, be quiet, and everything will be fine forever. That doesn't really prepare you for life, does it? However, my math teacher, that rock star, I'm going to share with you an experience, like something that happened. And in fact, this is probably the only thing that is truly crystallized in my brain during those 3 years I spent in high school. I skipped classes, and then the next time there's an exam, so I go to the exam on a class that I didn't attend, and I ended up scoring a very good notes. He was furious about me. He was furious. But also at the same time, he was proud of me. Okay? He was like, you fucker, if you were just putting a little bit more energy, if you were moving your ass, if you were not sleeping in class, you would do something fantastic. And I could hear, how he was personally invested. Out of those 3 years, if you ask me anytime, what's your memory of high school? That's the main memory that comes back. Why? Because I felt something. It was about having an experience. Okay? Now, think about it. In your own personal story, why did you like that content, whether it's history, math, physics, whatever? Why did you dislike that content? 90% of the time, or let's say a fucking lot of the time, it's because of the person who delivered it to you and the way it was delivered to you. And again, I'm not pointing fingers at teacher. I am just saying that this is how the system used to work. Oh, yeah, you had a chance. 50% chance. Welcome, welcome. There's coffee if you want. Good morning, friends. Okay, so yeah, my math teacher, he was a rock star. He's competing with Nobel Prize today, therefore he's fucked. But he gave me experience and emotion once, but I remember it. Okay, now there is another thing that I would like to talk about my childhood. I think I started role-playing game when I was 11, Dungeons and Dragons. I kept on playing role-playing game for the next 15 years. I loved tabletop games, pushing pawns, rolling dice, cards. And by the early 90s, I started to look into video game. I'm a gamer. And gaming was losing your time. All those kids that are playing video games, do you give them any better alternative? Because video game, as they are today and as they were 30 years ago, or game in general, they are stimulating, okay? They are creating a space in which you can activate your curiosity, you can confront, you have a social interaction. Nowadays, the video games, they are interconnected, and we can see a group of people self-emerging, making collaborative decisions together, and finding the best way possible to beat the game. Okay, that big dragon waiting in the cave, Well, we need at least 50 people. Okay? And people would naturally find their position. And if they did not, the group would find a different formation, a different configuration to beat the game. So there's a collective and social interaction that is delivered by game, and I'd like to keep that in mind for later. Gamification is the key. If you look around in, like, cubs, how do they learn their survival most important skill? By playing under the supervision, of lioness, kind of half sleeping in savannah, and they look at them trying to fight themselves. I did judo for 10 years, and judo is literally learning how to kill someone without having to kill them. We gamify. We create a space-time that has a beginning and an end, within which we make everything safer so you can learn. And video game, even though they, most of the time, and I would say never, they never came up with intentional education purposes. I mean, World of Warcraft was not here to teach you anything, but people learned by playing World of Warcraft or StarCraft or any decent video game. So knowing all that, I'm just trying to lay the ground here. Knowing all that, we are with the digital revolution, which is already done, and now we're going through the transformation that comes after the revolution. With the third industrial revolution that is going to happen really soon, we are surrounded in a world made of AI, 3D printing, augmented reality, virtual reality, nanotech, biotech, and all those things, they are fundamentally going to change everything but education. I mean, there are things that I don't need to know anymore. When I was at school, I had to stuff my brain with knowledge, probably very useful knowledge, at least at that time. But right now, I have that guy who can do most of the work, and soon he's going to be back here, and I'm going to have information on my screen, augmented reality. I'll see the things. Like if I want to throw something, I will see the trajectory, whatever. So all this imply a massive paradigm shift. And now I'd like to address the question of knowledge. Can I have the next one? If you have any questions, please feel free. Okay, I feel alone when I'm talking like that, so if you're like, hey, I disagree, throw it at me. And there's coffee. Yeah, talking about coffee. Huh, look at that. We don't need knowledge. Knowledge is toxic. Knowledge is dangerous. I'm done. Goodbye. No. Some form of knowledge and the way it's being delivered can be toxic. The thing is, now we are competing with them. And we need to stop competing because we lost. They are better than us at everything that is related to knowledge, at everything that is about making calculations. Okay? They're better than us at chess 20 years ago, at Go 7, maybe 10 years ago, at StarCraft 3 years ago. Yeah, sorry, I'm a gamer, as I said, so this is where my references are coming from. They are better than us. And in fact, they are not just better than us, and I'm referring again to the first talk here. They are not just better at us with accumulating knowledge, which they can do instantly while it takes us years. And we tend to forget they don't. But they are also better than us at our job. most of our jobs. I was talking about self-driving vehicles. They're there already, even though they're not exactly there, but it's just a question of time. So you can take all the drivers in the world and they're gone. Okay, that's going to fundamentally change how the world is moving. But if it was just drivers, that would be kind of easy. Like all the low-skilled job, we're going to have machine piloted by AI replacing them, most of them, the fucking vast majority of them, fucking lot. Again, really soon. But if we think that it's only the low-skilled jobs that are going to go away, we're wrong. We're really wrong. Because they're going to come after the highly technical skilled job, for sure. In fact, and this is a discussion we had together a couple of days ago, but right now, you can have an AI running a surgical operation 5,000 kilometers away, and perfect, no problem. If I have the choice today, I went through a back surgery operation 4 years ago, and the only question I asked my physician when it came to choose my surgeon is, I want somebody who is doing that procedure and only that procedure. I want somebody who's doing the same thing over and again, engraved in their muscle memory. And so when I met my surgeon, this is the only question I asked. And the guy told me, I'm doing that all day long, all week long, for the last 10 years. You're my girl. And my surgery went perfectly well. If I have the choice today between a human and a computer to open my back, I'll go for the AI 100% of the time. Okay? And this is today. Imagine how they're going to progress. So here we're talking about doctors, and this is why on my list earlier there was healthcare, but lawyers, they're gone. So the simple notion of job is going to disappear, is going to disintegrate. Okay? What are you doing in life? Yeah.
Working on a wellness program. And
Okay.
I'm actually going to be using a bot to send the message.
Okay. Okay. So you are working on a wellness program. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So our good friend here is working on a wellness program, but he intends to use bots to send the messages because, hey, aren't we all lazy? Okay.
But I was reminding me about, so there's a bunch of AIs now that are making arts.
Yes.
And they're incredible.
Yeah.
It happens in seconds.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I spent hours on what's the name? Anyway, on the Discord, and it was just driving me crazy. You can see those arts popping all the time. So yes, you can even go further and say low-skilled jobs are probably gone. Highly technical jobs are gone. But if you believe that you're a special snowflake and that what you can do is not going to be replaced, you're wrong. AI is coming after you too. Now the thing is, when I ask you that question, you told me your job. 99% of the time, if you take people and you're like, hey, what are you doing? I'm an engineer. I'm a policeman. I'm a lawyer. I'm whatever. We define ourselves by our job. And we grew up in a world where our job is most likely defined by our education. And I understand, because if I spend 10 years studying medicine, I'm going to be a doctor. Now, this is what I love with this group of people we're working with, is that we come from completely different backgrounds, Most of us don't have a single degree, or if we do, we don't even remember what it was supposed to do. And we are rocking the world, okay? Because it is about who we are today. And in fact, and again, this is a thought for later, but education should be a never-ending process. You start and you never stop. So the shift we are facing is that what we consider a job today, because we're supposed to make money, that's probably begun. And I like it a lot because, okay, one, I don't know about you, but there's plenty of jobs that I really don't want to do. And in fact, most of the people would prefer not to do them, but we do them because we make money. So on a global consideration, getting machine and AI to do all those shitty jobs instead of us, I take it any day. Please.
One thing I can't conceptualize disappearing is the fact that humans are still going to want to bond with people in person. So parties, even just organizing, like I have another side project I want to do, like a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
In Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And even just the conceptualization of the idea and acquiring the real estate. Maybe once the real estate is acquired, you can ask AI to design the thing for you.
Yeah.
But even when they're sending you designs, you're going to be decision making on which one you think is the best, or asking, or surveying people and being like, hey, which one do you like? Hey, which one do you like? And as long as humans have most of the wealth, it's going to be the human's decision on what they like, enjoy, or love, or right? I don't see that.
No, I completely agree. Thank you.
50 years or something.
Thank you so much. You just spoiled the next hour of my talk. No, I completely agree. Yes, this is what is emerging. Yeah, maybe give me the next one. We'll have a look. I completely agree with you. The thing is, but I also believe, and we're going to go back to that, that it is in the collaborative sense that this is going to work. Okay? That yes, you're having tools. Like you bought your land, you want to do you want to do your building, instead of soon we won't need architect anymore. You just go to a computer, talk to the computer with your own words. Okay? And say, hey, this is what I want, and this is how I want it to feel, and maybe I want light. No, can you change that? Because yes, blue better. Okay, and all the constraint, the physical constraint of how thick the wall is supposed to be and where the cable are supposed to go, it's going to be generated by them. So you can just have fun. Completely, like this is the word I envision. Like usually my talk, I start with a very grim perspective, and I smash everybody's brain, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna go suicide. And by the end of the talk, you're like, oh okay, maybe it's bright. So. Okay. Our relationship with knowledge needs to change completely. We have unlimited, permanent, instant access to the library of fucking Alexandria. It's called internet. Okay? Sure, you need to know how to find your information, which is like those set of skills we're going to talk about soon. But it's there, so we can free our mind to do something else and just access what we need, when we need it, use it, discard it, next. We don't need to store all that in a long-term memory. Because acquiring knowledge, have you ever heard those parents who say, yeah, I don't know if that is ever going to be useful to my kid, but hey, if they learn it, it can't hurt. It can hurt. It does hurt. Because whatever you learn comes with an experience. And that experience and the knowledge that comes with it is going to frame your mind. And the more you know, or the more you believe you know, and the more experience you had, especially when they all align in the same direction, the less you're able to change your perspective and be like, oh, that's different. Okay? In fact, if you look at, I don't know how you call that in English, but when you try to insert back in the working society people who are like 50 plus, just because they became obsolete in their previous job, and now we're like, okay, we're going to try to recycle you to put you back. I think that the success rate in France of that kind of program is 3%. Just because too late. The flexibility of the mind has been lost. So be careful with knowledge. I love knowledge. But what I say to everybody in the team, and I think that now I don't want to become an expert. I really don't want to become an expert. I want to understand from a distance. I want to get the detail I need to do whatever I need to do, and then I move on. In fact, now in this team, Gauzian is telling me that all the time. He's like, dude, I don't know how you can do that. Because as soon as somebody comes with a problem and say, hey, maybe our team needs to know a little bit more about this that no one knows about, they look at me and they're like, go, dive in it. And then whatever I learn, I'm trying to frame it, put it together in a way that they can understand without spending hours looking for the information. I'm like, this, thank you, goodbye. And I try to forget. So, skills. Before skills. The way we interact with machine and artificial intelligence is moving at a speed that is exciting to some, frightening to others. Okay, if you just follow the news, and you don't need to be, in like crazy, sharp sources of information. You just read the news, like, I don't know, CNN, Huffington Post, whatever, YouTube. Okay, and we know that now with animals that have a simpler mind than us, we can implant fake memories. Yeah. Yeah. We can copy paste information, but not just information, the experience. Okay? This is where we're going to go. Now, I know Kung Fu. 99, Matrix, Neo. You remember that scene? Yeah. We all do. Yes. Good music, isn't it? Okay. Right now, when we deliver information, it comes still in a very abstract way. It is much more interactive than it was before, but it is just information. Okay? You can choose how you want it delivered. Do you want to read? Do you want to listen to a podcast? Do you want to watch a video? Do you want to have those small animations with things that are moving? So you choose your own way, but it is still very abstract. Now imagine that you can not just download the recipe for that meal you want to do, but you also get the experience of doing it. Okay, from the chef, from the best chef in the world. I fucking know Kung Fu. We're walking in that direction. Okay, we can implant memories. Yeah, that's enough for me. But that is, again, going to completely change the way we approach knowledge and information. Exactly like in Matrix. Oh, I need to learn this. It's not going to be as fast. It's not going to be, like it will probably not be as fast as in Matrix, at least for a few years. Maybe we'll get there, but I would not be surprised, okay? Like with augmented reality, like literally everything the way we interact with the world is going to change. The way we see it, the way we feel it, the way we move into it, the way we smell, we taste, we hear it, okay? Like they already have like, you know, now it's kind of easy for auditive implant to select information. So if I'm talking with you, but we are in a very noisy environment, you know, you have like an auditive support that's going to focus on our discussion. So now we are in the middle of that massive concert and you and me, we can talk. That technology is there already. So I don't want to go too far into this, but imagine what's going to happen in the world and specifically in education, the learning process, when you can share experiences and not just knowledge. So I know I'm a bit like extreme when I say knowledge is toxic, but to some extent it is, depending on how you choose to learn and use it. Do you have any questions? Please.
The thing you were asking about, that's about how they already are enhancing experiences and knowledge into simple animals, or memory, sorry. Is that using Neuralink, or is there like a different method that already exists?
You're saying, is that using Neuralink?
Yeah, or is that...
So are you talking specifically about Elon Musk pet project, about how to interconnect us with...
I'm asking if that's the project you're talking about, or is there a completely different way that they're already implanting memories?
Well, no, yeah, basically they are probing the brain.
Actual brain.
Yeah, and
without a chip.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't remember. You know what? I already forget that part.
Okay.
The only part that was interesting to me when I read that article, which I read, you know, from A to Z, and I was like, oh my God. The thing I got is that they were able to implant fake memory. So basically, you had those mice, and then when confronted to a situation that they never encountered, they had memory of that situation.
I can give you something.
Hello. So you are asking if we are working on the project? Yes.
Not us, as
like,
in...
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Marcel, one of our friends, they are implementing or developing XR, extended reality. Basically, the coding will be implemented in a way where you can affect it. So this is in our field. Basically, it's one of our superheroes as well, and we are in touch with them, and we are already doing it. This technology, we have to firm that this with technology, and we can implement it here in Indonesia, of course, also. So there is.
Does it require microchips in the brain?
Maybe
It's gonna be like how it will be implemented and which technology that will be basically planted. I would say basically that I don't know exactly how, but extended reality is just simply augmented reality and virtual reality at the same time. Where it's basically you have it. We have metaverse in metaverse. Between metaverse there is another metaverse. So it's like you see something that you cannot see and touch it, but you can see it directly.
Like,
touch it, you know?
I don't need to answer that question. In fact, I personally don't care. Okay? Like the thing is, which technology is going to emerge? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's going to be a chip. You know, they tried with the goggles. I mean, I've seen plenty of people saying, oh yeah, first, big goggles and then small goggles, and then it's going to be lenses. Maybe it's going to be that. Maybe it's going to be a chip. Or maybe it's going to be the reality interacting with you because we're going to be surrounded by smart objects and they can detect our presence. And basically, instead of projecting the information either in my brain or in front of my eyes, maybe it's just going to print on the object. I don't know. To me, right now, that's a detail. I mean, it's a big detail, clearly.
I'm just really paranoid about a microchip in my brain. That's the only reason I asked. If there was another way, I'd probably do it.
Yeah, and you know what? You need a mic, my friend. You need a mic. Okay, you don't need a mic. You need a mic. Yeah. Yes, yes, clearly. Like same thing about metaverse. Everybody is telling you my metaverse is going to be like that, like Meta, Facebook and all that. They have their own metaverse, and it's like internet back in early 90s. Okay, everybody is telling you this is the future of internet. None of them back then could picture what we're doing today with the same technology. Okay, so the way it's going to evolve and the way solutions are going to emerge and how they're going to be adopted. Like a lot of people are like you, they're like, I don't want a thing in my brain. I get that. In fact, I don't know. Maybe it depends. It depends, how good is the stuff? Because if it's a good drug, maybe I'll take it. I don't know. Okay, like the thing is, 30 years ago, if you ask any sane adult, parent, any sane parent, would you drop your kid in a stranger car? Everybody would have been like, no way. And today we use Uber and we're like, hey kid, go to school. Done. Who's that guy? I don't know, I found him on the internet. We have no problem with that anymore. So today, you and me, I agree with you. I don't feel comfortable having like an invasive thing in my body. I don't know about the kids. I don't know about people in 20 years from now, how they're going to feel about it. Maybe they will. Maybe the superhuman or the augmented human that's going to emerge from that. Just going to be very natural for everybody. And you and me will just be, two old guys sitting on a bench and be like, I don't understand that word. In fact, it's already happening. There are a lot of people who don't understand that word. Because if you don't talk and think in ways that can be comprehended by a computer, which is what we call computational thinking, becomes some sort of magic. Okay, you're like a normal guy in Harry Potter. You're like, oh, how does it do? I mean, we all know people who can't use a phone, or are not very proficient at it. Digital literacy, it's one of the soft skills. So we are switching from a world where what happened in the last couple of centuries is that we became over-specialized, so we can be one cog into the machine and be replaced by another cog or replacing another cog. But we make sure that people can do one thing, a job. Okay? And we're going to switch to a more holistic, inclusive, human-oriented, passion-oriented way of approaching knowledge, competency, interactions. Now, what do we need for that? Okay, knowledge is for machine. That's what we need. Okay, so basically soft skills is how to interact with people, how to speak, how to write, Digital literacy is a very good example, how you can use a thing and be like, I should have made a list. One that I love is intercultural fluency. Okay? Except for Gaussian, everybody in the room here, we're not Indonesian, but we live in Indonesia. Okay? I'm not used to driving on the left. I got used to it living here. Okay? I know that when I am in the street, I should not touch the head of kids. That's bad. He taught me. Okay? In France, touching the head of kids, very well. What kind of music are they listening to? That kind of thing that makes you able to interact with people. Okay? Another thing that I don't know about you, but has never ever been even mentioned while I spent 20 years in school, career management. Who you are, where do you want to go? Like the only question is, what do you want to do when you're a big grown-up? I want to be in space. Okay, well, that's the study you should do. I want to be a doctor. That's the study you should do. How do you manage your finance? How do you manage your career? How you manage your interaction with people? That is going to become crucial because the thing is, this is the only thing left for us, as you said. Okay? The jobs are gone. The only thing we have left is interaction. So those soft skills, okay, the definition of soft skill is a skill that can be used in any job as opposed to hard skill. Okay? Hard skill is, I don't know, I'm a driver, I know the roads, I know how to, use my truck or whatever. And if I'm a doctor, I know about the body, I know about the chemistry, I know about the compound, I can deliver it, and so on and so on. But the soft skill is stuff that we use every day to interact with each other or with AI and machine. So, cognitive skills. This is how you perceive the world. And to some extent, how you interact it. So it is about memory, how you use your memory. Short-term memory, long-term memory, working memory, contextual or associative memory. Those are examples of different ways of using your memory. And you train them. Now, the real problem with all those skills is that our educational systems are not, absolutely not designed to evaluate them. And in fact, everybody agrees on the fact that it's fucking hard to evaluate those skills. Sure, I know how good you are in English or Bahasa. And the three of us, we are competing now on Duolingo to work on our Bahasa. It's one thing to know Bahasa, it's another thing to know Indonesia and Indonesian people and their culture. There's a difference there. So the memory, the different learning process, we talked about it. Some people prefer to have like a visual support or an audio support. Some people want it to be shown. Some people want it to be explained. But in fact, it's because we didn't train all of them. Okay? If from the beginning we are trained into the different way of absorbing information, we would be fluent in all of them. It's just that when we were kids, nobody told us, or at least when I was a kid, and then I picked mine. Questions about all that? Okay, good. One thing that is common in all of those, it's decision-making process. And we're going to go back to something that we said together, is that I fundamentally believe, I am convinced that the decision process are now emerging from social interaction in a collaborative way. And that is a way of changing education. Now, I discovered in the cognitive skills, you have something that is called the metacognitive skills, which is basically the way you think about how you think. Yeah, I had the same thing when I read it for the first time. I'm going to give you an example of how I think about how I think. I'm so bad with names. I told you the first time we met, I'm so bad with you. In fact, I'm sorry. I forgot your name. But the fact that I know that I am bad with names, that is thinking about how I think. Now I have two possibilities. Either the first time I meet someone, I need to tell myself, need not forget the name. Okay, so then I can use associative memory, for instance, and be like, oh, what's your name? Oh, Lily. Oh yeah, Lily like the flower. And then I place a flower on her face, and next time I meet her, I'm like, yeah, flower. Lily, right? That would be a solution. Or you're lazy as fuck, like I am, and I'm very upfront with everybody. When we met, I told you, hey, I'm Cyril. You told me that's my name. Forgot about it. And I said, first thing, I'm so bad with names, but I remember faces. Okay, I went the lazy way. But at least I have that metacognitive skill that is knowing about my own strengths and weaknesses when it comes to using my brain. And that is highly important. You have so many people today in society who are placed in situations where basically their brain is frictioning with the world around them at all time. It hurts. It hurts them. And it hurts the society because they are not doing a good job at whatever they're supposed to do. Okay. My favorite is computational thinking. So basically, computational thinking is trying to analyze, break down, and find a solution for something, for a problem, in ways that a computer can understand it. Okay? So it's about abstraction, it's about automatization, and it's about analysis. Okay, it's also about pattern recognition. But it is kind of important because we are now in perpetual, constant, permanent interaction with machines, with computer systems. Okay, so understanding how they work and understanding, basically, if you understand how they work, that gives you a form of literacy. So it's not pure magic. It becomes a real form of communication with that artificial reality, that augmented reality that is already surrounding us. So a very good example of computational thinking in daily life, cooking recipe. You need this. First step, you do that. Then you put it there. Wait half an hour. Then you move it here. You add this. You stir. Ta-da! You get it. Okay? That's an algorithm. Some people have their bedtime routine. I mean, I don't know about you, but last time I took a shot of tequila after brushing my teeth, didn't work well. My routine was not properly assembled. So, and my favorite of all, but I'm getting fucked by this guy, is driving from A to B. Okay, that is pure computational thinking. You take a map and you're looking for the shortest route. Let me share you a stupid story of mine. Yes, please.
Why would that be a necessary skill when you can just use Google Maps to track an A to B?
So for driving from A to B, I'm obsolete, even though I'm still going to share my story because I love it. But in general, computational thinking allows you to break down any problem into smaller problems that you can address separately, and then you connect them into basically an algorithmic approach. And the thing is, the complexity of what we have to do tomorrow is so high that we cannot use hyper-specialized brain that don't know how to talk together. We need to use open-minded, easy to interconnect brain that can address a problem, break it down, and say, hey, you're the artist guy, yeah? So you're gonna talk with that AI and get the color and the web. You know about tech and you have a good flavor, you know, so maybe you'll be the one who's gonna draw the map of the restaurant. And I love cooking, so I'm gonna interact with 3 AIs to build the menu. But we have to come up with that. I just laid it out. But what I just said is the product of our brain interconnecting, working together, and looking for the best solution that emerges from our contradiction. And this is something that we really need to change, because contradiction today doesn't work. I mean, the red don't like the blue don't like the red, this is a bad guy, this one should go in jail. You know, we have those bubbles on social media where basically you don't talk with the people you disagree with, and contradiction is not part of our society anymore. We need it. We really need it. So when I was living in Paris, my flat is like 10 minutes walk from the metro station. So every day with my girlfriend, in the morning we would go to the metro station together, and in the evening we would come back at a different time. One day we were walking together in the morning, and I grab her hand and I changed sidewalk. And she's like, why? I'm like, because it's shorter. She's like, what do you mean it's shorter? Well, I counted all the steps, and this one is shorter. So she followed me, and now she's using that one. Then one day I pick her up at her job, so we come back together, and she goes towards the sidewalk that we are using because I said it was shorter. And I grab her hand and I go on to the other one. She's like, but you told me that this one was shorter. Yes, in the morning. This one is faster in the evening because of the density of people on the sidewalk. My estimate is that we were each saving 1 minute per walk. 4 walks per day. 300 days a year. That's 1,200 minutes. That's 20 hours of our time that was saved by using my brain doing computational thinking when I was not even in need of my brain because I was walking and just counting steps. And we did that for 10 years. That's a lot of days that we saved by like a few minutes of using my brain. Now, funny thing is that in the middle, they redid the whole street. So the size of the sidewalk had changed. So I had to spend a couple of, maybe 10 days, you know, thinking about it and finding the new path. I was so proud the day we went to Potato Head, and I was there before you. I was so proud. This guy knows the city, he's been living here for years. I found a shorter path. Yeah. Computational thinking at its finest. When you mix it with gamification, you know. Questions about all that? I don't want to spend too much time on those. I want to move. Can we move on to the next one? But those are skills. Those are the skills that we need to teach in our education system to kids, but also to adults. But he already said it. The only thing left for us is creativity. I mean, any repetitive job is going to be done by a machine or an AI or both way better than us. They don't sleep. They don't make mistakes. They need to be repaired on occasion, but they don't take a salary. A little bit of energy, upgrade the software, and it keeps on running. So, yeah. That one. Alone I go faster, but together we go further. Okay? Can I have the next one? I believe that education should be based on experience and not on theory. I believe that we should get rid of teachers and classrooms, and instead we should look at the people who are here to help us grow as gardener. You don't get to choose which plant to grow. You don't get to choose which one is going to yield fruits. You are just here to let them find their place. Okay? We need to look at school, not as school for kids or for like this segment, this age segment. It is about collective intelligence. If you really want that 50-year-old plus guy to be able to recycle himself and acquire new knowledge, you cannot leave him with other 50-year-old people. You need to put them together with 20-year-old people. That's how you can stimulate the brain again. And obviously gamification. Gamification is, in my opinion, but I'm convinced about it because I'm a gamer, that games are the best way to learn. Okay? So basically we need to turn education and school into a massive online role-playing game in real life with the support of augmented, extended, blah, blah reality and, the goggles and the AI and all those programs. That might work. So experience-based. A friend of mine is running a school. In fact, now he's running schools, engineer schools. But something like 15 or 20 years ago, he ran a very interesting experiment. So this is a coding school. They're supposed to, create computer engineer. And they have a business that comes to them and say, hey, we would like, can you help us develop a cashier system? So it is about coding, but it is about coding. There's a lot of statistics, there's a lot of mathematics in there, and those students don't have the level in mathematics. So what they did, the experiment is the following. They divided the students into two groups, two populations. One would go through first acquiring the theory, going through classes, and then they would tackle the project. The other one would just dive into the project with no support, accessing a knowledge database, so if they need something, they're going to learn about it. They're supposed to know about code, but they're bad in mathematics. Compared to the task they were supposed to tackle. So what they did is that they ran a math exam to start with. They took two populations, they ran the math exam, average note at the end, 2 out of 20. Really bad. They knew absolutely nothing about the kind of mathematics they were supposed to use to run that thing. Guess what? That population, the one who did not receive any form of formal theoretical knowledge beforehand, ended up with more mathematical background at the end of going through the project instead of acquiring the knowledge without understanding how and why it would be used, how and why they would need it. But if you face a problem and you realize that you need to know something, when you did your website, you came to me and you're like, do you know anything about website? Do you know somebody who knows about website? Because my girlfriend needs a website, how can we do it? And you were like, fuck it. You went online, started to browse. 3 days later, you had a website. And you know nothing about coding a website. Or at least at that time, now you do. Yes.
And you learn through experience.
Yes.
Not like just reading something and having.
Yes. Yes. In fact, what is interesting is that if you deliver the theory after the experience, then it makes more sense. Okay? We have two possibilities. Let's say we're going to build a bridge. So we can spend hours learning about physics and stuff and, you know, how to hold and the different type of bridges. Or we can modelize one. Hey, I have an idea. Let's do that kind of bridge. Oh, it doesn't work. And what about this one? Oh, I saw this one, you know? And then by iteration, by interaction, we have a solution emerging, and then we have a problem. And we go to the teacher and we're like, hey, can you tell us more about that physical principle or, you know? But then I am interested in what you're giving me. I'm curious about it because it matters to me. Experience-based. Talents gardener, I think that notion is very important. Like if we stop thinking in terms of it's like agriculture. I think that everybody in this room and online would kind of agree that intensive agriculture, not the best. What works is an ecosystem with different type of plants, because some are taller, some are smaller, and maybe that one is small because it wants to hide in the shade of the big one, and so on. Which leads to the zone of collective and creative intelligences. I believe, I used to say for quite some time that the time where one person could change the world by his thinking and his thinking alone has passed. Like, you know, I think that Einstein was kind of the last one. Okay, the Newton and the Da Vinci, who could be, you know, who could revolutionize multiple things or at least one thing in their life by being alone or with little interaction and support from other people, that time has passed. That's why we moved into hyper-specialization. So I'm going to frame that thought in a different way. I believe that every idea and discovery that could be made by a person have been made and discovered. The only way to get new ideas is through interaction and collaboration. This is exactly what it is. It is about interaction. And that's why we need those soft skills and those cognitive skills. Like when we think about computer engineer, we are still looking at that old image from the 70s and the 80s, you know, the guy with big glasses sitting in a basement and typing line of codes. But today, computer engineer, maybe they spend 10% of their time doing line of codes. The 90% the rest of their time is about talking with people. What's your problem? What kind of solution do you need? What's your problem? What kind of solution do you need? Oh, okay, you disagree. Maybe we should sit together and talk because I need something. And collaboration, this is how the idea is going to emerge. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you press on the button once to reactivate it.
That makes a lot of sense because even myself and like many of my friends and people, they have a lot of ideas and sometimes you even have funding, but until you get people interested or eyeballs or attention, followers or whatever it may be,
yeah,
nothing takes off. Nothing will ever take off until you get people involved, right?
Yeah, and confrontation, like the real discussion. Okay, we agree that we disagree, but we need to make a decision. That's the best. When you have like, and it happens to us so many times. I mean, we are a team of like what, 10 people-ish? 7 of us are living together. And we have discussions, as in we disagree on regular basis, like daily basis. Okay? And it is about how we navigate that, how we put together our thoughts, how we agree to change our perspective, not because we are changing our perspective, but because we need to show compassion, understand somebody else's perspective. Like you can say to somebody, I disagree, but I understand. Okay? Right now, most of the people say, I disagree. We need to go back to the, oh, I understand what you're saying, but I disagree. And then we need a third or a fifth person to walk into the discussion and help us getting the solution. And usually that solution was in none of our brain when we started the discussion. It is something that is unknown to us. It's not, oh, I was right and I proved all of you wrong. No, we all proved each other both right and wrong until we find something, and we take a piece of this and a piece of that. So, yeah, gamification, I have something to say about that. Again, something that emerged from confrontation and ideas and talking with people we don't even understand what they're doing. We came up with a solution, not a solution, we came up with an idea. Or a couple of months ago, it's learn to earn. Like everybody here is familiar with blockchain, and we know that in the last 2-3 years, you had those play to earn game. Okay, so basically you walk into a game and you play that game and you're getting paid for it. Now, the thing is, we also understand now that basically that was based on a Ponzi, and on the other side, you had to have people who would be investing in NFTs, and as long as there were more people buying the NFT than people selling them, the value would go up, which would basically finance the people playing the game. Fantastic. That was a Ponzi, but the idea was there. The implementation was bad, but the idea was there. Now imagine Duolingo. Again, like the three of us, we're competing on Duolingo now. We're like, ah, but it's for self-interest. Now imagine you play Duolingo, but you're getting paid for it. Not a lot, but you're getting paid. How would that impact the number of people using Duolingo and learning languages? Millions of Indonesians and Filipinos and maybe Brazilians who would instantly learn languages. I think that you don't need that much, like maybe with a couple billions, you could educate 100 millions of people into 5 different languages within a year. Easy. Gamification is a massive solution, but I think that the learn to earn model, I'm French. So I come from a country where education is free. Literally. I mean, there are a couple of schools where you have to pay, but basically you can go through, kindergarten, elementary school, high school, completely for free. You have to pay for your books. And I think that when I went to university, I had to pay like maybe 50 euro to get in. And I know that a lot of people are jealous, as in, oh yeah, but that's France. In my country, it's fucking expensive. It should not. It should be free, but it should be more than free. You should get paid to be educated, because anybody who gets educated in whatever is making the world a better place as a whole. So, oh, fuck, I lost my train of thought. So, sorry? Yeah, no. But like, so, yeah, the play to earn mechanism, like right now we have an idea, we're trying to play with it. Like imagine some sort of Duolingo / Pokemon Go, but instead of collecting Pokemons and learning a language, you mix them together, then you learn about how to make the world a better place. And what you do is an augmented reality game where you have to walk the street to collect plastic or plant trees or change light bulb or whatever, and making the world a better place. And when you do that, you're getting paid. That makes sense. And we should apply that kind of thinking to all the fields of education. Where was I? So, yeah, can you give me the next one? So, as I was saying at the beginning, it is not, I didn't want that talk to be about how blockchain is technically going to support the shift of education. It will. It just makes complete sense. Okay, blockchain facilitate, remove friction, accelerate, and make cheaper the transmission of value or anything that requires trust. I think that's the best definition I have for blockchain when I want to explain it to my grandma. And the thing is, it comes with values. And those values, when we adapt blockchain and we live in a world that is run by blockchain, those values are transmitted to us individually. It changes the way we function. And the thing is, those are the characteristics of value, of blockchain, okay? Let's assume that there are people watching this and they have no idea of what blockchain does. Blockchain is a new way of hooking computers together. And instead of having a centralized data center with a lot of processing power that is owned by one person or one corporation, it is distributed amongst all of us. You can run whatever blockchain on your computer at home. And you can be a node, or you can be a validator, you can be a miner. Forget about those words. You can contribute to it, which makes it distributed, which makes it very hard to attack. As a consequence, it's very resistant. Because if you attack one data center and that data center doesn't function, the whole service is down. But if you try to attack, say, the Bitcoin network, it's everywhere. It's millions of computers that are hooked together in your home or into mining centers, but basically it's literally impossible to take down. It is amazingly resistant. One thing that I love about it is, at least for the blockchain that have been designed until today, the ones that are indeed really distributed amongst a lot of people, they stay neutral. And the neutrality is amazingly important, okay? Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network doesn't care about where you live, the color of your skin, the religion, your age, your belief. You have Bitcoin or you don't have Bitcoin. Simple. How many Bitcoin do you have? That's all they need to know. So the neutrality is amazingly important in my opinion. And I said it in all my previous talks, but I sincerely believe that maintaining the neutrality of all the networks that we're going to use in the future is the most important political fight that we're facing in the transition that is in front of us. Now, the collaborative part is basically, it's not just about distributing the computational power between a lot of computers to make it resistant, but it's also, it is collaborative, and that collaboration, for instance, in the Bitcoin network, there are decisions that are being made by large communities of users. When you are part of the network, you are part of the decision process of that network. Okay? And the way it evolves depends on you, and obviously on your education and your ideas and the way you communicate with people through your soft skills. And open and public, I love those, because you can't cheat, you can't lie. You can't say that you have Bitcoin that you don't have, or Ethereum or whatever. I say Bitcoin, but you know. The very vast majority of the blockchain that are being used at the moment and that are shaping that new industry that is taking over the world at a speed that only a few of us realize, it is public. You know, you can't lie. There's no Panama Papers anymore. There's no, oh yeah, I got a degree, but in fact, maybe I did not. So how does that translate into education. Like the distributed part, I believe that we should move to some sort of pseudonymous peer-to-peer evaluation and contribution. It doesn't take that much for someone who's slightly older than me to evaluate my work, especially there's 5 of them that can review my project because they've been through the same thing. Okay? That's another way of removing the teacher. And in fact, being able to evaluate other people's work, project, and experience is a soft skill. Okay? Like, told you I was doing judo, so for the first 3-4 years, I was, the guy who was getting beaten and trying to learn everything. But then at some point, I became the one who was able to share. And so when I was going to my judo class, I was working with white belt, and I was telling, no, don't place your hand like that, and move your gravity center and do this. I was the one sharing information, giving knowledge, under the supervision of one teacher. Yes, the sensei was there, but I was placed in a position of semi-authority where I was able to share my knowledge to somebody who was very happy to receive it. And if they had any question or any doubt, they could ask somebody else because the knowledge was distributed. That's one way. We talked about the fact, like, I believe that collaborative in education and basically in humanity now is needed because everything that could have been discovered by a single mind has been discovered. Therefore, now we need to move into the collective mind, which is going to be amazingly more inclusive. I don't know about you, but when you work in team and you're not evaluated as a single individual, but as a team, then everybody who's sitting next to you are not competitors anymore. They are allies. In fact, there's no teaching anymore. I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, I was cheating all the time. Who was cheating? Thank you, guys. Okay. Yeah, but my experience with cheating, I don't know how you call it in English, but I was writing the key information into a very small piece of paper that I would be hiding somewhere. Okay, and then you would just find, yeah, okay, I see the smile. Okay, so we all been through that. That was critical thinking at its finest. Because you took 10 pages of theoretical content and you boil it down to 4 lines. In fact, by the time you're done with the process, you knew it.
I should save some questions. They're incredible.
It is a way of acquiring information, but not as in go. Just like, okay, I don't need this, I don't need this. Okay, that looks important. I understand. I need to not forget that formula. Let me keep it. What we used to call cheating is smart thinking. In fact, you want to have a cheater in your team. You do. Okay? The resistance, if you start to work on experience-based group way of delivering education, I think it's much harder to hide your laziness from the other member of your group and fellow student than from your teacher. I mean, my teacher never caught me. I was sleeping, whatever, not attending, looking over shoulders. I went through it. But if your results depend on my presence and my action and my contribution, and you see me slacking, you'll catch me instantly. That makes it resistant to some extent. That force integration. Or if it doesn't force integration, then I'm going to ostracize myself from the group. Then I'm going to end up with other people who ostracize themselves from other groups. And then we will have to build a group of our own. Back to square one, we have to make it happen. The public open, I think that we should not assume of the level of competency of anybody. Okay, this is one thing. I mean, for instance, like I think it's true in a lot of countries, but depending on where you're born, where you're living, you're gonna get access to that kind of education or that kind of education, which boils down to, you know, how much money is in your family and the color of your skin and stuff like that. I would very much like to think about a system where that doesn't matter. That's why the learn to earn mechanism would be fantastic, because money would not be an issue anymore. But I also think that if you want to apply to any form of curriculum or experience delivery, you should be able to apply. Sure, there's going to be a test at the beginning just to make sure, you know, how your soft skill or whatever, you know, there are prerequisites. Like in games, you know, if you want to learn Fireball, maybe first you need to learn how to make sparks. Okay, oh, I learned sparks, now I can do Fireball. So, and here, I have another story, short one, and we're getting close to the end, so don't worry. That friend of mine who built a school, who run the test with two groups, and they realized that by the end, the one who did not go through theory had a better mathematical theory background at the end of running through the project than the one who first had a class. So that one was to illustrate how delivering knowledge can create frictions in the way, you know, basically that's more efficient. So they did another test. In Paris, when you live in a suburb, usually you have less money. And I guess that's the same in a lot of cities in the world. And usually the academic results in the normalized system that we have today are lower in the suburb than in the city center. So in that computer engineer school, they run another experiment. They took 50 people targeted in the suburb, people who were, you know, not going in, I would say, in the right direction, but basically who were not integrated anymore into schools. Difficult profile. And they were taking not long, like they were delivering content at a very fast speed. Again, project-based, group-oriented approach, everything we've been talking about here. To make a long story short, a woman who was into that experiment ended up working for free. So free is like the Telkomsel in France, okay? Like big companies delivering, you know, internet to millions of homes and all that. And within maybe a month or just maybe a year or two from starting to work for that company. So basically she was coming out of the suburb, no job, no education. She went through a short program. Now she's working as an engineer. And in fact, she's been spotted. And then she was starting to work for basically the design of the free box, which is like the internet box that they deliver in every home. Okay, so, and that was like, you know, the top of the cream of all the engineers. And when Xavier Niel, who's the guy who's running that massive company, talked with her and was like, okay, but where do you come from? What are you doing? And she's like, well, 2 years ago, I was selling hamsters in a pet shop in the suburb. She was not a computer engineer, but she had a beautiful mind. And that's what we need to nurture. Okay, because, can I get the last one? Because I think that the values of blockchain, when translated into real life interaction, in a society where we are not going to have a job anymore, or not the job that we used to imagine, like, 8 to 5, I need to go up to do something because it has to be done. No, we're going to wake up to do something that we like to do, which is something that we're doing in the team, in fact. Then the values of blockchain, or let's say the characteristic of blockchain, can translate into human values. And if you pay attention, all those values here, they're starting to emerge again. We start to hear them again, but they were gone for a couple of centuries. Okay, we went into this me, hyper specialization, competitive. I need to be better than you because if you're better than me, I'm not gonna have this, my precious. And we're moving into a world where it is about networking, it is about collaboration, it is about having ideas to emerge, it is about becoming creative. And the only way we can be creative when we have AI all around the place. It's about doing something that AI can't do. Okay, they're good with knowledge. They're good with processing information. They are better than us at pattern recognitions. They are better than us at driving vehicles, at cutting a body open to repair it. They are better than us at so many different things. One thing that they might not be as good as us is being human. That's it. Questions? Fuck. 6 minutes. Yeah, perfect. Questions? Online, maybe? No? Everybody's sleeping? Sorry. Okay, well,
I don't think I've actually tried to watch one, but like I see a lot of like ads right now on Instagram about how you can get this AI to make content videos for you, right?
Yeah.
Have you actually tried? Have you ever watched one or tried to learn something from one before?
Not personally.
No.
But
I imagine right now, like, the way you're speaking and like moving back and forth, using your energy, nuances and stuff, and it's very easy to absorb information from you because I can feel your energy.
Yeah.
I don't think AI is going to be able to do that no matter what. Even if they create like a robot that moves back and forth and tries to do it, it's still, a robot.
I would say give it a bit of time.
You think you'll be able to do that? Yeah, that's what I mean. How's it gonna or passion? Maybe they'll try to fake it, but
Of course, but the thing is, like, where does emotions come from? It's from thoughts, from trigger, from us.
yeah.
Like everything that people see, everything that people get from outside, and you process it into an emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, let's say, there is an interview with Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg with AI. So, like, if you don't see, let's say, the robot, you cannot really see the difference between robots and AI. So it's all about, because communication is like, you're exchanging thoughts, right? You're exchanging thoughts, and every thoughts that coming into your mind it's release kind of chemical process, which is then can cause emotions. You know what I mean? Like I say, you are a piece of shit. So, you know, sorry for my French.
That's not French.
What the people
That's
say.
not French. Oh, merde.
But then, whatever I'm saying to you, like however the tone is, like I say, I'm screaming at you. And the AI, the robot can do it very easily. You know what I mean? And then it can cause in your brain, can cause some chemical processing and sending you emotions. So the AI itself maybe cannot have emotions, and even maybe more stable. The emotions are more stable, right? Because they are using the neuronal complexity and link where they are becoming stronger and stronger. But then how you react to it, you know, how you process the thought that is coming from the AI is different. Yes, I would say can process your emotion. It's like when you see in the television or something like or radio, you cannot hear something like you cannot really see the people, but you hear something that they are talking about, right? So the tone, the expression or something like that, right? And then you create something in your own, you know, like hearing scary radio or something. So from radio and then television, so that's all robot, you know what I mean? And then AI easily, you know, easily. So
Like-
then tools or devices that can scan you, like how you react to them. So the thing that I'm really excited about is like not how AI will take over you, how you actually can interact with AI in the way it can enhance and improve your life. Like for example, I'm coming from a place where like like I've learned about NLP, hypnotherapy, and all this healing process and method, you know, quantum healing and stuff. So and my clients mostly like to my friends when we were like in coaching program, it was like mostly like above 40. And when I talked to them, it took 20 years for them or a couple of years for them in order to, you know, heal some kind of patterns or something in them, you know. And then some people, it was like 40 people inside of the room, okay? And then it's maybe 7 people that are below 30. So, and they are so advanced and enhanced and they're fast, you know, really fast because the way to information is like, and then they are very conscious already, you know, and they are like they're kind of not jealous. I would say they're impressed how fast we are already. You know, they take it like for 15 years until they manage to repattern the thing. So AI and robots and quantum healing, quantum technology will help or support us like when it comes like 20 years of healing, it can be 20 years, 20 minutes maybe, you know, because there is something or some devices can change and see where where in your brain for basically you have some pattern that you're blocked, for example. So I'm looking forward where AI meets spirituality, where AI meets cooking, where AI meets a lot of things, where it enhances you. So now that's why I'm always coming back to, you know, knowledge is like knowing yourself first. You know what I mean? Like if you can control your own AI, there is nothing can control you. So that's my input.
To answer or to give my opinion on your question, you know, the name came back, Mind Journey. One of the give words and they produce images. Now, I don't know about you, but 10 years ago, I would not even dream about it. Not there, and this is just the beginning. So that thought fresh means that you could do that with animated image that could not be distinguished from reality and get a movie with people inside moving. And in fact, the probability of me being an AI talking to you is very high. So, but that's a different talk. Yeah. Any other questions or concerns or online? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence. for listening. And in fact, I'll be presenting next week again, but I still don't know about what. So, well, those who are listening, they know, but you got late, so you don't know. Thank you very much. Have a good day.